Hello, please work. Last video I filmed, microphones did not work. Hopefully now we're good. I'm gonna clip this thingy onto me and pray that it works because I will refilm this video if it doesn't. I don't want to have to do that. Okay. Hey guys, it's Gracie, your favorite ride operator. You probably don't even know me. I'm going to introduce myself real quick. I worked at Cedar Point for 2 years and I was in rides for both of those years. So I have some experience working in rides, and I also worked in a very small ride versus a very big ride. So it's kind of cool to see how things are different. So I have a lot to talk about today. And if you're on the fence about working at Cedar Point, and if you are on the fence about what department you should go into, I'm going to be talking about rides today, and I'm going to tell you why you should do it or why you shouldn't. I mean, there's things for everybody. I have met a lot of friends in rides. I feel like everybody that's in rides somehow knows each other. There's like everybody's friends, or everybody at least knows each other. If you guys have not seen my other video, I made another video a year ago. So like after my first year, talking about working at Cedar Point as a whole. So even if you worked in like foods, games, traffic, whatever, it still kind of applies. This video is specifically ride operator specific, but I'm going to link the video below. It's like working at Cedar Point, talking about my experience. And then I also made a video about the dorms. I toured it. I showed you it. Blah, blah, blah. So if you want to learn about the dorms, I also have that video as well. On my notes are crew buttons and crew hoodies. I don't know why that's the first thing I thought of, probably because I'm wearing one. If you work at a ride, 90% of the rides like want to get like a hoodie with all of our names on it. So this hoodie has like literally all the names of everybody that worked on it. Really cool, kind of fun. The design is sick. And you also get like a button to wear when you work. I loved the buttons. I thought the buttons were fun. I liked collecting them. I liked wearing them. If I went to a different ride, I would like try to get the button because it was like exciting. I don't know. So I have a whole collection of them. I'll insert a photo of my ride button collection. But if you're in rides, that's like something you do. And a lot of the times people at work, they actually design them. So it's kind of fun. Let me talk about what ride you'd be working on. Obviously, when you think of Cedar Point, you think of like the big rides like Dragster, Millennium. But there's also other rides that need ride operations like Camp Snoopy or the boat and other things. All of those things make Cedar Point an experience. So we love like going and riding the big rides and saying we're on the big rides. But it's also important, if you work at a kids ride, you're giving those kids maybe their first ever amusement park experience ever. And I think that's kind of special. So don't be discouraged if it's your first year, you don't get to pick what ride you're at. The crew is what makes it. So I guarantee it'll get better, like 100%. If you love the people you work with, you'll be fine. You know, my first year, I was lucky I got put at Corkscrew, a roller coaster. So I feel like I've never really not had a coaster, but like there's definitely pros to working a flat ride or a smaller ride, because your first year, and maybe this is going to change, who knows, but your first year, you don't really get to pick they just put you somewhere because they don't know you. You've never done any like ride operations, whatever. They will ask you questions though. I got asked the questions when I was like having my interview over the phone and when I was onboarding. The questions that I remember were like, do you like a fast-paced environment? Those fast-paced environment rides are going to be like Millennium. Actually, no, Millennium's kind of slow, but we're not going to get specific. But Millennium's a busy ride. There's a lot going on. More fast-paced. Magnum is a super fast-paced ride. Or like, you know, rides where you have to constantly be doing something. Those are going to be the rides you get put in more likely if you put, I want to be at a fast-paced ride. Not always guaranteed that you're going to get those rides, but if you say like, no, I don't like being at a faster pace, you might be put somewhere where, you know, it's kind of like one at a time, maybe like, see, I don't even know because I've only worked a coaster. I feel like every ride you kind of have to be on it. Think about that carefully. If you're really, really tired every single day and you have no motivation to go to work, kind of just want to have a chill job, I would not pick fast-paced. But I enjoy fast-paced, so that's what I put. Second year. If you work at your second year, you do get to pick like first, second, third place rides. I chose Millennium for my second year because my friend was a supervisor. Shout out to Bo Bays. So I got put at Millennium. We loved that. It was a great experience. I loved the whole season. Now, at those rides, there are different positions. When you get there at your first year, they're going to give you a red shirt. You're like, kind of like that level, you're ride operator, that's your job. Then there's ways to move up. Even in your first year, you can be made an in charge. If you're an in charge, that means you're basically the boss if your team lead or supervisor are not there. So you can get moved up, but that's a lot more pressure. So if you don't want to handle the pressure, I wouldn't try to be an in charge, because you're in charge. Like if that ride, if something happens, you're doing everything. You got to call the people. You got to deal with the guests. You got to do all this. So there's a lot at once, but if you're good at handling that and you want a leadership position in the future, I think it's good to be an in charge. So you could be an in charge your first year. You're still wearing the red t-shirt. Then there's also a trainer, and I was a trainer at Millennium, so you go through like a trainer's course, you have to do some things, and then you're allowed to, like when new people come to your ride, you can like be their first impression, you can teach them everything, and I loved that. Then the next thing is the team lead. They're like the TL, they wear the teal shirt, so you and the supervisor and the team lead, like you'll know who they are, they'll have a teal shirt on. A lot of the times the team lead's in charge, because the supervisor and team lead don't have to be there at the same time. But at your ride specifically, red shirt, supervisor, there's so much, sorry. Regular employee, team lead, or trainer, blah, blah, blah. Third time's charm. Regular, like red shirt employee, you can be an in charge or a trainer, and a trainer. You can be both if you want. Team lead, supervisor. Team leads, you can like apply after your first season, second season, whatever. You can apply, and then there's a chance you could get it. They'll pick your ride though. If you're a team lead or a supervisor, they pick the ride that you're at. So like they can offer you a position to be a supervisor somewhere, but it may not be a location that you want. Whereas if you're like a second year, just wanting to be a regular employee, you do get kind of a choice. It's not always guaranteed though. Every ride can be great if you like the people you're working with. So be optimistic, because you are spending a lot of the time at the ride you're assigned. Like 90% of the time when I was a ride operator, I was at Millennium Force. Here and there, I'd have to go to other rides. I also got trained at Valraven one day, literally one day. Blue Streak was amazing too. Great crew. So see, it's just being optimistic, trying new things. No phones. Like you can't be operating a roller coaster checking, oh, my mom texted me, let me check your seat. It's a safety position. You got to be focused. You got to be alert. You're pretty much 100% of your attention is the ride, the people, and their safety. So you got to take it serious. You do get a break. It's not like you're for 15 hours a day constantly working. You get to go on break, sometimes 2 a day. Then you can get on your phone. Like also same with like Apple Watches, you can't have your Apple Watch on. So if you're a ride operator, I would definitely recommend getting a watch that just tells the time. Like it can be like a digital, but it can't be like a smartwatch. But you're like, well, where am I supposed to keep my phone? I would bring a book bag with a water bottle. You need water. Change of socks in case it rains. Water bottle, sunscreen, change of socks, extra name tags because you do get in trouble if you not have your name tag on. Hair ties if you pull up your hair. Deodorant. And I say that with a capital D and an underline. Deodorant. I'm sweating right now in my room. Like imagine if I'm checking seats in the heat. A pen, a watch, and your associate ID. Your associate ID you will get when you onboard. Keep that because you got to scan that to get into the park. So yeah, keep your phone in the bag, and then every ride has an area that is safe where you can keep your stuff. So then when you go on break, you can grab your stuff, go on break. The whole wazoo. Some rides you are in the sun, some rides you're not. Like if you work at like Get Air. Why was I gonna say Get Air? I meant Max Air. Get Air is a trampoline park. If you work at Max Air, you're not under a station. There's a lot more sun, so definitely bring sunscreen. But like Gatekeeper, for example, you're under like a huge platform. You're probably not gonna get hit by the sun, but I would keep sunscreen at all times because you never know what if they're like, hey, Gatekeeper, you're going to Max Air. Sorry, like. You need sunscreen. So just keep it just in case. Good to stay safe in the sun. You don't want to be burnt. That's like painful. Let's talk about the hours. As a ride operator, you get a lot of hours. So you will get a lot of hours, especially at the beginning of the season, because at the beginning of the season, there's less employees. You know, people are starting to come in. So the beginning of the season, you're going to be expected a lot longer. Then towards the middle of the season, when everybody's there at once, so we have the most people ever, your hours will be cut down. Sometimes that's a good thing. Sometimes that's a bad thing. If you submit your availability and say, I cannot be there these days and these days, they respect it. But if you say I'm available whenever, you will be working a lot. For both my years, said I could not work Saturdays and Sundays. I wanted weekends. I actually worked at Lululemon on Saturdays and Sundays this season. So I was always working, but I wanted a second job to like break it up a little bit, but still make some money. So you have that opportunity to do that. If you can't be there a certain time, let them know, communicate that. They'll see what they can do. At the end of the day, it is a job. It's not just summer camp for adults, although that's what I like to call it. There is drug testing for safety positions, so don't be on drugs. You know, you can't operate a roller coaster on drugs, period. Like, you know. So I know safety positions, and I can only think of ride operator and lifeguard, but there are probably other jobs that require you to be drug tested. So if you don't give up your drugs, you probably will work in foods or something, which you'll still get to work here. So yeah. Some other things, if like you're coming at the beginning of the season, maybe it's a little chilly still. We are on a peninsula, so we're out in the water. All right. It might be a little chilly, maybe a little windy. Bring a hoodie. If you wear a hoodie though, it has to be like Cedar Point or your ride. So if I'm at Millennium Force, I can go to a gift shop and get a Millennium Force hoodie or a Cedar Point hoodie, but I can't be at Millennium Force wearing a Valraven or a Corkscrew hoodie, right? So If you have a Cedar Point hoodie, you can wear that when it's chilly, stuff like that, or Millennium Force. I would recommend getting one because you might actually wear it a lot, especially if you're working at the beginning of the season when it's still cold and the end when it's October. Also, they give you shorts, which I'll insert a picture of me wearing the shorts. So they give you shorts. The khaki shorts are kind of like the basic outfit that you wear. If you want to wear khaki pants, you are 100% allowed to do that. Again, at the beginning of the season when it's still cold and the end, it might be nice to wear khaki pants. I didn't buy any until I changed positions. I got a job at the One Team Center, which, you know, is actually like the office for a ride operator. That's when I finally got pants. But khaki pants, comfortable ones. I know Lululemon is on the pricier side, but they're so comfortable, period. I wore the men's ABC pants. The season flies by. My first year felt like it was a little bit longer than my second year, and I don't know why, because my second year I was there way longer. It literally flew by. It was almost depressing, like how quick it was. If you don't work a day, do something fun, or if you get off at 4, try to do something fun, make the most out of it, and 100% like try to stay in contact with your friends. I have stayed in contact with a lot of my friends, and it is just like amazing. If you stay and you work Halloween weekends, I know this is how it was the past 2 years I worked there. If you stay and work Halloween weekends, you do get free housing. So if you decide to live in the Cedar Point housing, that housing is free for Halloween weekends, so that's a little incentive. And I think you get a raise. I'm pretty sure you get a pretty good raise, but I'm not 100% sure. I don't want to promise anything. Busier rides, if you work at, let's say you work at Steel Vengeance, that's all the way at the back of the park, and you're closing there, you are going to get off way later than someone who works the Midway Carousel and the boat, which is like a combination of 2 rides that you could work. That's at the front of the park, because those rides aren't as busy. They take less time to close, so they're going to be out earlier than if you work Steel Vengeance. Let's say the park closes at 10, but there's still an hour wait. You might still be cycling trains and dealing with guests at 11 p.m. Then it'll take a while to close. You work at a busier ride, you may be there later. These are my IDs. Aw, stop. This is my first year ID. It's got like ruined. Also, you're supposed to return them at the end of the year, but I lost mine left mine at my house, came back to Cedar Point and needed another one. So I had to get them reprinted. So that's why I have them. This is my second year. So we love that. So just make sure when you do get home, like, and you know you have to work, get sleep. Seriously. There's nothing worse than walking into the park early, 7 a.m., like closing my eyes, walking down the Midway. Like, I'll look over here and they're cycling trains already. I'll look over here, they're like landscaping. I'm like, man, the show must go on. Like, there's still people planning their family vacations at this amusement park, whether or not I got sleep. Let me talk about the different positions. Every ride is different. I'm going to talk about positions on the rides that I've worked. So, Corkscrew. They were a smaller ride. We had bins at the ride. So like, you know, when you go to an amusement park, you have a book bag. Sometimes rides have bins where you can put it into, as for some don't. So then you have to get a locker. Corkscrew had bins. So there was no lockers you had to get. You can just put your stuff in bins and then get on the ride. So there wasn't somebody at the entrance saying, hey, put your ride bag in a locker. Millennium Force did have that position. So there's some rides that have positions that other rides don't. When I worked at Corkscrew, there was crowd. That person basically counts the amount of people that come in to the ride, because we do track the amount of people that ride our ride, which is kind of cool. That's called the DOR. Well, that's kind of like one of the numbers. So you need a pen, you got to write it down. Actually, you write the DOR in pencil, but anyway. Yeah, so like at Millennium Force, I was at entrance, and I'd be like, hey, you can't have that bag. And you'll learn kind of like what can and can't go in. And people got mad. People would get mad. So you just got to learn, stay calm, don't take what they say personal. They probably paid a lot of money to go. They're probably tired and hot, and their kids are just probably annoying them. So maybe they're in a bad mood because of that. Don't take it personal, move on, tell them the rules, be calm. If something happens, you can always contact your supervisor or somebody that's in charge. If a guest says something to you, let it go, because there's another guest waiting behind them that's probably going to be the nicest person ever, or not. But let's hope they are. Then there's positions where you're in controls, and that is one where you have to take a test to be able to be in controls, because you're actually pressing the button, and at the control panel, if something happens, you gotta kind of know what to do, but don't let that stress you out. I was always stressed in the beginning. I promise it's not that scary. You learn, you're quizzed, you're prepared. And then there's positions where you're checking seats. Those are the positions where you're doing a lot of the moving and you're dealing with a lot of the guests. Biggest thing is to just stay focused, move urgently, but be like, okay, safety first. If someone's barefoot, you're allowed to like slow down operations and be like, hey, you need to get up and put your shoes on. It's okay. Like, it's not like the end of the world. Your crew understands. Everybody understands. No one wants... Well, I don't know why you can't wear shoes, so I'm not going to even go into detail with that. Now, I posted on my Snapchat asking ride operators to give, like the ride operators I'm friends with, to give advice. Oski, he worked at, actually, funny story about him. He just lit up and said post notifications have been activated. That's funny because, so I made that video after my first season, and then I worked at Millennium Force. He came in like as a guest and was like, oh my God, I saw your video. I'm going to start working here. And now we're friends, and he saw my video on YouTube, so that was kind of cool. Bring extra socks and shoes on rainy days, period. Like literally you could be walking in mud, in wetness, and you don't want to have wet shoes. She said I was screwed a lot because I didn't do that. Yeah, I feel like you don't ever think, like, oh, I need an extra pair of socks. But when that happens, there's nothing worse than having wet socks and then them being like, okay, we're opening up the ride after it rained for 3 hours, and then you're like working the rest of the day in wet shoes and socks. That was like amazing advice. So we have a ride operator. There's a ride operator group on Facebook, which you'll definitely join if you start to work here. And I'm assuming, okay, someone on the Cedar Point Ride Operations Facebook group, anonymous, says, gonna be my first year at Cedar Point, I'm gonna be working in rides, period. They chose the right place. Is there anything to expect and any advice for the future? Let's just read some of the advice, and I won't expose any names because I don't know if they want to be exposed. But I know most of these people. Make sure you get rain gear and pack it in a book bag. Yes, they will give you rain gear. Get the right size. It's actually not that, actually I use it at home too. It's nice. If you have long hair, make sure you have extra hair ties and clips. Have fun and make relationships. I love that. Also, the shoes do need to be white. So like, don't bring, we had someone come in with Crocs. I'm not going to speak anymore about that. Don't wear Crocs to work. And don't wear shoes that are like bright red. Like, I know that matches Cedar Point colors. I think that's a slay, but you need to have all white shoes. They will get dirty, but I would always wash mine like once a week in the washer and they would look pretty good. Sunglasses are huge. A lot of the times, like, there's certain positions where you can't wear sunglasses, but there's positions where you can. What I mean by that is if you're checking seats, I know that there was a rule you couldn't have your sunglasses on because you need to make, you know, more of a safety thing. But if you're at the entrance of a ride and it's like the sun's right there, you're allowed to have sunglasses. So bring sunglasses. If you're a guy, white undershirt. Well, unless if girls want to wear white undershirts too, but yeah, you need a white undershirt. Pens, always have a pen. There's people with ADA passes or like the DOR. There's like so many things where you need a pen. Literally, we would put a pen like in a collar of our shirt. Boom, right there. Lots of sunscreen, cheap sunglasses. I've lost like 4 pairs. I love that advice. Yes, here's another one. If you're walking in the park and you like work in rides and you're like going to break, you're still in uniform. Guests will still approach you. Every other day, a guest would ask me where something was. If they ask you where something is, be very nice because your name tag is on. Like, they're going to know who you are. You should be nice. They don't know that you're like off the clock or whatever or on your break. So you should be nice. Like, all the time people ask, like, I would be walking from Millennium to the break area bistro and people be like, well, where's Steel Vengeance? And I don't know how to be like, it's literally just keep walking. You can't say that. You gotta be like, oh yeah, so if you just take this way, keep walking, it'll be all the way at the end. There's a big sign. It's by the railroad tracks. You will have regulars. Like, I feel like at every ride you'll have regulars, just people that are locals that come and like ride the same ride a bunch of times. Be very nice to them because they're gonna remember you. You're gonna become friends with them, or at least you're going to know them, so you should be nice. Oh, it's time to be real. They're going to see my ratchet tripod. My tripod is literally books, lighting for my car box, some wipes, and oatmeal. Oatmeal. I'm not even lying. Okay, I'm taking a picture of the camera. Okay. When you start working at, like, whatever you process in, they're going to schedule you for IROC training. That is, like, what you go through. You have to be like IROC certified to operate any ride. So it's like a day where you just kind of like sit, you learn, you do little lessons. They you have to do quizzes, stuff like that. But that's a great opportunity to meet friends. Like, literally don't be afraid to be like, oh, what ride are you at? Or do you know what ride you're at? And talk. Like, you never know. Like, I feel like there were so many people first year and second year. I remember them from my IROC classes and we're still friends. So we love that. So that's like your first real opportunity to meet friends. That is like my biggest advice because the friends I made are what I miss. Oh, a lot of guests will say the most hurtful things and 9 times out of 10 they're not true. There's that one time where maybe it's true. I'm kidding. Take pictures. Yes, take a lot of pictures. Bring a mattress topper. If you're staying in Commons, bring a mattress topper. You have the opportunity to get an apartment or if you're a local, whatever, but if you're in Commons, bring a mattress topper. There is nothing worse than a long day and sleeping on a brick. I don't know what that's like though. I brought a mattress topper, so I slept like a baby. Thank you guys so much for watching my ride operator video. If you guys have any other questions, do not be afraid to reach out. My Instagram is Thegraciefarmer. I'm always here to talk. Leave a comment down below as well. Give this video a thumbs up, and I hope I see you guys next year, or this year technically, at Cedar Point. See you guys next time. Bye.